Life's experiences usually determine some of our actions, but certain experiences, especially the ones that give us chills because of the close brush with death, more or less determine to a large extent the people we become from the point of that experience. Many a times people have heard songs and given different interpretations to these songs. Today we have with us in the studio Ireti Maple. She's going to be giving us her experience about a particular song. The song titled So Will I was authored and presented by Hillsong. She's done a cover to it, but before we get on to the song, the cover that she did, I'd like us to hear the bone-chilling experience that birthed this new love and interpretation to the song So Will I. Ireti?
Thank you, Aurelia. Okay, so it was 3 years ago. It happened 3 years ago. My church wanted to do our annual conference, and because I'm a member of a choir, my music director chose me to take the theme song for that conference. And then the title was So Will I, like you mentioned. So there's something peculiar about this song. Peculiar to this song. It's pretty much long, but very meaningful. It's got very punchy lines, and if you take time to listen to it, you'd there's no way you won't be blessed by it. That's just the nature of the song. So because it's long, I couldn't rehearse for the song the way I would on a normal day. I needed to be somewhere where there are no interferences, disturbances, and all, or somewhere where my singing wouldn't, affect another. So I thought the best place to do that is go to my church auditorium and do it. So this beautiful morning, I set out to my church. I live in the city of Port Harcourt, and I set out and boarded a cab, and I was seated at the left-hand side, just behind the driver's seat. And along the line on the way, there was this uneasiness that the lady that sat on the other side, started showing. And well, of course, I tried to mind my business, but it went on and on.
You mean she was jittery?
Yes, she was jittery, and she was making funny sounds. She was just doing stuff that made everybody in the car know that something was wrong.
Was she in some kind of distress?
Apparently she was. So there was a man who sat in between us, then posed the question to her, "Madam, is there something wrong?" And she said, I'm looking for my money. I kept it in my bag, blah, 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 blah. Oh, okay. And then I just tried to check around me if maybe the money dropped. I could help check. The man also tried to check. Nobody, and then everybody decided to mind their business, and then the journey went on and on. Then it got to a point, the car broke down. We couldn't proceed. The driver apologized for having to stop us halfway, and then said we could pay half the fare so that we can use the remaining half to get to where we're headed. That particular cab was headed to Garrison. So the plan was from Garrison, then go on to D-Line where the church is. So we got down. And then I knew that was the point where I should show some human kindness. She doesn't have anything to pay for the fare so far. Apparently, our money was all gone to her. But then I paid for her. And I told her not to worry. The man that sat between us had moved on, and then the other two people who sat in front, they had moved on their journey. So it was just myself and her. The cab man was trying to fix his car, that was left at that junction. So I began to have a struggle within me. Okay, now she's stranded. You have 10,000 naira in your bag. You can just give, the least you can do is give her 1,000 naira. At least let it get her to where she's going. But quite unusually, it was a struggle. It shouldn't have been a struggle, really. I had more than enough. Even though that money was, kept aside for something else. My husband had given me, you just go to the supermarket on your way back, get a few groceries and all of that. Yeah, but normally it shouldn't have been a struggle, but it was a struggle. I don't know why. And then back and forth in my mind and all of that, I was just struggling with it. Okay, at that point I said, no, I'm not going to give her. Then she was pacing up and down, not very far from where I stood and all that. Luckily for me, at that point, all we were actually doing was waiting for another cab that would convey us to Garrison. So luckily for me, I did find a bus that came along. So I boarded the bus, I sat in front, and then we proceeded. There was a little traffic on the road. So the car moved slowly and slowly at that point. And interestingly, she had left where she was pacing up and down, where I left her. She started walking down. Because of the traffic, interestingly, she met up with the bus. And I don't know how these things work. I still had that struggle. I said to myself, you would say the least you could do was just give her 1,000 naira.
You're human after all.
Oh yeah, you get the point. And then at some point, I just turned back. I don't know, maybe it was because of that battle within me, that struggle. I just turned back and I saw her. And then that was when I said to myself, okay, now you have no excuse. You have no excuse whatsoever. You just have to help her. God has brought her your way again. And this is the sign that you should be helping her. So go ahead, dip your hand in your bag and give her 1,000 naira. So I did just that. And then, because I didn't want anybody to know what I was doing, so I tried to be discreet. And then I called her to her when she had moved very closely to the bus. That's Mpogo area, Port Harcourt people, I'm sure you know that place. She had moved very close, so I just gestured to her. Madam, please just manage this, at least it should get you to where you are going. I had barely completed that statement when she hopped at me, like, thief! Yes, I knew it! You stole my money! You stole my money! Thief! Thief! I was shocked.
Just so we're clear, the same woman you helped pay her fare, and you were trying to give her some more money to get her to her destination, is now accusing you of stealing the money she lost in the taxi.
Exactly.
She didn't do this while you were both in the cab.
No, she didn't. And I'm laughing now. It wasn't funny then. I was shocked to my bone marrows. And for that moment, at that moment, I was lost. I could goose pimples all over me. I was shaking. And then I was looking at her for answers. Like, where is this coming from? Like, I stole your money because I'm helping you? I mean, what's the relationship? I mean, how did you get to that point? And then just before I knew it, she had added that her phone was stolen as well. Please take note, she didn't mention anything phone while we were in that cab together. What she said was that her money was lost. I can't remember if she gave a figure or not. I can't remember that detail. But what she said was that money was. But this time when she was accusing me, it was her phone and then her money. And things like this, people that gathered in a short while. And then I couldn't talk, honestly. When I don't know if you have been in that kind of a situation before where you're accused wrongly and...
Well, I think the term is dumbfounded. Because you just find yourself unable to utter any words.
That's the
for
word.
defense of yourself or even to offer some form of explanation.
That's the word. That's the word. That captures it
It
absolutely.
comes with a great deal of shock.
It was quite shocking. And then people had started saying no manner of things. Bring that tire. Let's burn her. Let's teach her a lesson.
Purity, you have to take a pause. She accused you of stealing her money and her phone. You were still in the bus.
Yes. I had stepped down because they practically tracked me down. Like, hey, thief. She said you stole her money.
So there's mob action now.
Yeah. The people in the traffic was serious, so the bus wasn't even moving.
Okay.
Wasn't moving. So, we had more people come to pay attention to what was happening. Passers-by, what do you call all these roadside, what they call agbero?
I get that.
All manner of people had gathered, and then they were ready to kill me.
Take a moment.
I tried to make them listen to me. Nobody was paying attention. I began to speak on top of my voice, just to be heard. But nobody was paying attention. Everybody sought to drown my voice. And all they seemed to be interested in was to just kill me. Like, killing me was going to bring some sort of satisfaction. They just wouldn't hear anything from me. And then I turned to the driver. He was a middle-aged man. Oh, I turned to him and then I begged him. I said, sir, it wouldn't be fair if I'm killed and nobody hears from me. I said, I have something to say, just let me say it. He said, so just then he was trying now to draw the attention of everybody to what I had to say. And then I just connected to heaven, and then I said a word of prayer. God, I'm about to make an utterance. Just tell me what to say. I don't know where to start to defend myself from, because these people would just hear. So it was like the heavens were open up to me, and the connection felt very real, and it was like an access so direct to God. And God just said to me, ask her what the make of the phone that was stolen is. I was about to return, how would that help? But then the same voice said to me, just obey. So by that time, during that conversation with God, the bus driver had succeeded in making everybody keep quiet. And then I spoke. Okay, so madam, what's the make of the phone? And then, Aurelia, if somebody asked you what the make of your phone is, would you think twice about it?
I know what it is.
It took her a few seconds before she could say something. Like she had to think about it. And that was where I knew that God had done it. I felt some relief. And then she opened her mouth and said, no, in Phoenix, I don't know which of those two she said. I can't remember. It's been 3 years. And it's not an experience that I like to, call to remembrance. I can't remember which of those two. But it was just so convenient for her to mention one of those two, Out of every 10 person around,
It was the most popular model used by a lot of people out there.
that was it. Thankfully, I had none of those on me. I had 2 phones. The one I held in my hands while all of that was going on, then the other one was in my bag. It was a walkie-talkie kind of big, huge phone, you know, those phones that people use on fields. It's not the regular kind of, so it was just too far apart from what she accused me of stealing. And it was at that moment when she said it, I said, everybody could feel my sigh of relief. Then I just opened my purse and then brought it out. And then within split seconds, the crowd
Dissipated.
And then my accuser was nowhere to be found. There was already a tire. Thinking about it much later, I wondered where that tire was, where they brought it from. Was it that the tire was lying somewhere carelessly on the road and then it was just, I don't know. I would have died. I would have been killed. And then you would have heard all manner of things, all manner of headlines. I'm trying to think of possible headlines now, you know. It would have said all manner of things, and then my people, my family.
At the time this happened, you were a mother of 1.
Yes, I was.
You had a son. He was quite young then, I believe.
He was what?
He was quite young then.
Yes, he was. It was 2 years, a little less than 2 years old.
So less than 2. Now, in the twinkle of an eye, something that could have been, well, one could have explained it as a misunderstanding. Maybe you looked like someone that may have riffled through her bag, quickly morphed into what would have been a case of mob action resulting in death. And I keep wondering, when I heard the story, I wondered if the accuser was held, what her explanation
would have been.
But let's get back on track with the story. As chilling as your experience would have been, I'm curious. At the time the crowd dissipated and all those who wanted to become judge, jury, executioners had gone back to their businesses, what did you do next? I mean, because you were on your way to church, so did you go back home to be with your family? They were all you could think about when all of that was going on, as surreal as that experience was. Did you go back home to your family? Did you still go to church? What did you do?
Well, before I answer that question, I remember when I was begging to be heard, one of the things I said was, I'm willing to surrender myself for investigation. Can I call the police? Can I call my husband? Please, just let me call my husband. Let me call the police. I'm ready to call the cop because, you know, I was saying all of that. Nobody was listening. And then I began to, I actually did lose my voice. That's an irony. I was going to rehearse for a song and I lost my voice trying to shout. So at that moment when it happened, a few people apologized. Very many of them had walked away in shame, in anger, you know, against my accuser. They were looking for her. I heard someone, hey, she don't run, oh. Homo, I beg, make her find her. That's all we for kill innocent person, you know? Oh man of. And then the people in the bus were saying, I could hear some of their conversation, and some of them said, and see how nicely she's dressed, because that day I was really, 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 really happy. I'm the kind of person that dresses according to my mood. Oh, that day I was happy. If I had my sunshades on, I was sweetly dressed, and I knew it. And then they were saying, see how nicely she's dressed and all of that, and then she's, hey, now so some of them, now people things where then they thief. Then they take the shine. They had said all manner of things. And so when that happened and everybody disappeared, by that time the traffic had moved, but my boss was still, because of the incidents and all that, everybody just quietly just went. And then the people who were co-passengers who had come down got back into the bus. And then those were the ones that were now apologizing to me. And I was saying, Madam, sorry, now so therefore don't kill you, child. Another person now said, whether in her husband self, now big man, now so for enter trouble, They now started saying things that was exactly opposite to what they were saying at that period in time. I was still in tears. I was shedding tears. Right up to the point when I got to church, I was in tears. And when I got to church, I couldn't do anything. I knew deep within me that I couldn't do the rehearsal any longer. I knew it. I just laid down on the altar and then cried some more. I cried some more.
Imagine after all of that trauma, the tears this time would be more of relief.
Oh, yeah.
And then your imagination would go into overdrive. What could have happened?
Exactly.
I mean, imagine leaving your house feeling on top of the world, dressing to the nines, just to have a glimmer of what it would have been like if it was your last day.
I couldn't stop thinking about it. I couldn't stop. And then I couldn't even wait to share the experience with my husband. It was quite emotional for him as well. Because for him it was like, I would have lost my wife just like that. And then I wouldn't have had anybody to tell me the real story. Because what you would have heard was that she stole someone's phone and stole someone's money. It wouldn't add up. It would have added up. And then the purpose became more real to me. I mean, the purpose of leaving my house when the incidents happened to me. And then the song took a whole new meaning entirely. I mean, if there was ever a time that I doubted why I exist, why God created me, that moment, that turning point was defining.
It put things in perspective.
It did. And then I knew, it just felt like the rest of your stay on earth is borrowed time. You better use it well. You could have gone. Ireti, you have to fulfill purpose. You have to. So when I can say that I took rehearsals of that song more seriously. I loved the song. It was, and then the lyrics of the songs, if the mountains cry out, so will I. If I was made to worship you, that's what I would do. Nothing more.
Well, it's been quite a chilling story. It's not everyone who has the experience of having such close brush with death, especially in our society of today where there seems to be an increase in blood loss. At the shout, whether in excitement or in anguish, there's always a rallying round for mob action.
Sadly.
Indeed, it will be an experience that one is supposed to share and should be a defining moment. So I can understand why the song held a whole new meaning to you, but this is what I want to ask you. After going through all of these, the harrowing experience, the close brush with death, and still having to go to church, the conference held, you still performed the song. A few years down the line, you decide to do a cover of that song. I want to ask you, if we listen to your cover of the song, is it going to bring out to the world all of your feelings, all of your understanding, what this song and the words, the lyrics now mean to you?
Absolutely. I can assure you, it will.
Well, it's not the first we've heard that songs that were done, covers of songs that were done, show a whole new meaning than the original version. Yeah. So I think that we should all take a look at the video of the song.
Yeah, I'll be headed to the studio after now. to do it.
that.
So watch out.
Well, I look forward to all of the chills and the goosebumps I got from hearing this story, all of it being poured into the song So Will I. Indeed, you have been through a life-defining experience, and I must congratulate you for coming up on top. But before we end the session, I'd like you to do something a bit more. As one who has experienced a mob action that could have ended in you being lynched,
Yeah.
what's your message out there? Because moving around in this country, Nigeria, today, you could go to the marketplace, you could be at the bus stop, you could be doing anything, and you could very easily become a target. It does seem like if someone raises an alarm, no one wants to ask a question. They want to swing right into action. So what's your advice to other Nigerians there?
Oh well, I can only give an advice based on my experience. I can't recommend something that I don't understand to you. And what I do understand and what I do believe, even right up to this moment, is that it was just all God. If you take out the God element, my people, I would be dead by now. If you take your mind back to what I said, it was at the point where I opened up to God and asked Him, it's just you that can save me from this mess. Do it. So I'm a Christian. I believe in God. I'm a believer of Jesus Christ. I'm a believer in Jesus Christ. And He was the only one I could call to. You see, they didn't even allow me to call my husband. I wasn't even allowed to call the police. So if you ever find yourself in such a situation or a similar situation, I think what you should just do is call to God. Call to God. If you don't have a relationship with Him yet, you better do.
Well, thank you very much, Ireti Maple. I'll call you by what you said. You do not want to explain. She who is.
Yes.
And I look forward to seeing your cover of the song.
Yeah.
So will I. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Aurelia.